When we talk about looking after your own mental health or your well-being when you're in isolation, we've already covered many of the things, but I do want to go over some of those things again. The first thing is have a routine. Get up, get dressed, get moving. That's so important. Get up at a reasonable time, around breakfast time. That might be 8 a.m. for some, that might be 6 a.m. for others, it might be 9 o'clock for others. It really doesn't matter when it is, but keep to a routine. Keep talking is the second point. Talk to your family, talk to your friends, talk to healthcare professionals who might be supporting you, and build this into your routine, but monitor how frequently you're doing that. Don't overload other people, particularly not family, because it might be worrying them that you're so in touch with them so often, and it might be fueling your worry. So again, build it into a routine. Phone call with the family at 6 p.m., for example, and try and stick to that routine as much as possible. The third thing that you can do is keep informed, but limit this to once a day. Don't be listening to news bulletins every hour, watching the television constantly, because this will make you more anxious. Limit it, and limit it to the reliable sources. So try not to listen to the gossip on social media. That can generate anxiety. It can be helpful, but limit your exposure. Patient organizations are usually a good source of information. The Psoriasis Association, for example, I know is keeping up to date with expert opinion. The fourth point is keep occupied. Very similar to having a routine and getting moving, but find new things to do and the things that you like doing. It could be something very simple, such as a word search, a puzzle, crossword, previous hobbies, maybe taking up a new hobby, although don't be too ambitious. But add it into your routine. So, make it a regular slot at maybe 11 o'clock or 3 o'clock, where you do a word search or a crossword puzzle or a jigsaw puzzle. Just find things that you like doing and do more of them. Keeping occupied is really important. The fifth point is tuning in. Tune in to how you think, how you feel, what your patterns are, and interrupt these if they start to become problematic. So I'll give you an example, something that's very common. When people start to feel anxious, they feel their heart rate beating, they feel the pulse quickening, the stomach might be starting to rumble and getting a bit upset. They then listen into their thought processes, which might be, oh, this coronavirus is really problematic for me, I'm very worried, I'm not going to get my medications, etc. And one of the ways that they might try to deal with that is to go and reach for the biscuit tin, or reach for a bottle of beer, or reach for a cigarette. So that thinking, feeling, doing cycle can be problematic and needs to be interrupted. If you find that it's becoming a bit of a cycle for you, you need to interrupt it. You can interrupt it by changing your thoughts, interrupting those, doing something active to try and offset your feelings, and keeping yourself occupied so that there isn't too much downtime, leaving the possibility of you just worrying. The sixth thing to do, and I think this is probably one of the most important things, is be kind to yourself. Recognize that you are struggling at the moment. If you are struggling, you might not be, but if you are, recognize that it's temporary and it will pass. It's a normal reaction to a threat to worry about it. But if the worry is dominating your day, then it is becoming a problem in itself. Allow it to happen up to a point, but keep a check on it and make sure that it's not dominating. And also be kind to others. Recognize that they may be struggling with the same things that I've outlined in the previous slides for you, But also they might be worrying about you as well. These things that I talked about, selectively attending to information, being a bit more irritable than usual, having black and white or catastrophic thinking, or uncharacteristic behavior, might be their signs that they're worrying too. You're the expert now because you've been told about some of these things, and share that information with other people if it's helpful. What are the best things that you can do? What are the best forms of coping? Well, there's two broad ways in which we cope with a threat. It doesn't matter what that threat is, whether it's if you're trying to cross the road and a car is coming much quicker than you anticipated, that's a real threat. In the same way that our bodies are tuned to respond to this threat of a virus. The same physical things and psychological things will be happening. It's one of two things. We can either avoid dealing with a threat, or we can approach that threat and manage it. The avoidance technique is not helpful because it means that you will be allowing circumstances to control your response. So that's why I've placed so much emphasis on approaching and taking control over the things that you can take control over. Approach coping is by far the best way of dealing with it. But recognizing what you can control and what you can't control is equally important. Having a routine, I can't stress enough, can't emphasize enough how important it is. Get up, go to bed at set times, and try and behave in ways as though the threat isn't happening in relation to having that daily routine. Have your meals at usual times, but remember, you're expending less energy than you would be normally, so eat less. Even though you might feel hungrier than usual, or your stomach might be upset, it's so important to keep healthy but small meal times. Don't comfort eat, in other words, as best you can. The third way is to use distraction, many of which I've talked about, listening to music, doing puzzles, maybe letter writing or reading. This might be the time to, pick up that novel that you've been intending to read. Diary keeping for some people works really well, not for others. If you find that you are starting to keep a diary and it's fueling your worry, put it down, try something else. Maybe just watching fun TV and just allowing yourself just to watch mindless television that really isn't taxing you in any particular way. Keeping in touch is so important. Have set times and agree the amount of contact that you'll have with family and other members, other friends or healthcare professionals. They may need support from you, of course, but try not to fixate on one thing when you're having conversations with people. Try and mix it up. There may be things that you've seen on television or that you've seen on social media. People are sharing quite a lot of funny video clips and things on Twitter at the moment. And the reason they're doing that is to try and balance out some of the negative messages. That's useful, up to a point. Watching kittens play is helpful up to a point.